right, thank you. Thank you. Oh. Great, well, thank you, and thank you for having me. Hopefully everyone can see me back there. We also use Braze. Yes, I'm updating the SDK right now, and I'm gonna charge you for my drinks.
I was gonna say, we should make commission at this point.
Okay, so I'm just going to give you a little bit of information of what Drop is so I can talk a bit about the data that I've pulled today for this conversation. So if you're not familiar with Drop, we're about 7 years old. We're a Series C funded, Toronto-based company. We've got about 5 million users. Most of those are in the US. And the big part about the data that I'm going to show you today is that when you come in as a user, you connect your debit card or your credit card to our app. And when you do that and you have a purchase, we just award you points and you can use those points to do different things. And so when we get that data from the transaction, we actually have a 2-year look-back window on that transaction data. And so we have a very large data set that we turn around and use for different things in the quant fund and hedge fund space. So what we've done today is we've pulled together a little bit of survey data and we've combined that with our transaction level data. So I wanted to talk a little bit about where we're seeing some of the trends happen. So this graph here, lots of lines. What we did was we polled our users and we asked them where they were at with their shopping behaviors before COVID started, during COVID, and then once COVID had completed. And so the line I kind of want you to pay attention to here is this pink line. So that's actually online only. And so during COVID, we heard a lot about people moving to online shopping and that was going to be the trend that stayed and our bricks and mortar going to die. And I just want to show you that from a preference standpoint, that's what we're looking at. But below here, I actually have the data we pulled from our transaction records. So pre-COVID, we saw 97% of all transactions happening in store, only 3% online, total transactions. Retailers like Walmart and Home Depot, they represented a really large portion of that data set. And so just for context, I'm gonna talk a little bit more about Walmart in a second. During COVID, 92% of all transactions with our 5 million users happened in store, not online. So just want to kind of set some of that context. By the end of 2022, so wanted to pull the most complete data set, we had 86% shopping in store with only 14% online, which is actually pretty staggering when you kind of think of where some of the trends and what we're hearing. One particular example I wanted to show you was Walmart. Walmart's got a really cool story. You know, you'll see before in 2018, 2019, there were no online transactions that we had in our data set. Now, whether or not they had any online presence, it's kind of irrelevant at this point. During COVID, what we saw was this 14% growth in terms of online shopping behaviors. And when we break that down by demographics, there's some really interesting things happening. So for those of you that are in the Gen Z, you weren't obviously rushing to walmart.com.ca or Sam's Club to buy anything. We can definitely tell for that. But millennials and Gen X, there was definitely a substantial trend. My hypothesis around that is household goods. You know, they really geared life towards families and being able to go order things on demand. They invested a ton in their grocery programs. They also invested a lot in their online sites. And so they're definitely seeing this from a trend perspective move to an omni-channel experience. But let's talk about what's happening in store. So we set a survey out to our users and we said, okay, well, why is it that you tend to be going back in store? And we had 4 key reasons that surfaced as the most popular. So one, they get a better feel and they can try their products out. Q sampler, great opportunity for you guys. They're unlikely to return or refund those products. They can't or don't want to wait for delivery. And this last one is easier to come across other items I need. I want you to hold on to that one in your back pocket because I think that's a really powerful insight. If they're thinking about the in-store shop experience, they're actually finding things that they didn't have on their list to begin with. That's actually, that's pretty cool. What's happening in the online world? Well, I probably don't need to tell you this because it's going to be really obvious, but there's something I really like about this one. So first, it's convenience. I'm going to talk to you about categories and where that's playing in a second. Next is free shipping, easy price comparisons, and the last one is more discounts or coupon codes. So again, I thought that one was really insightful, and the reason is because there's probably not a big difference between what coupons and what price changes are accessible to consumers in store, but they're not present in the shopping experience for them. And instead you've got Honey or other rewards apps like Drop showing up telling you that you can get a discount when you shop at those stores. And therefore there may be a perception issue there from a shopper perspective. Now let's talk about what this looks like from a category perspective. And so when we think about in-store and the transaction levels that we're seeing in store, the highest in-store ones are coming from Home Depot and IKEA and Walmart and Petco and Target. Target's a really big one for us in the US. So think, home improvement, department and specialty stores and groceries. So, if you were trying to get an Instacart shop in when we had COVID, you would have seen that those block times were impossible and you had to wait maybe or book in advance. We've seen that trend really reverse back to in-store shopping, so people can start trying things out and maybe making more of an experience out of shopping. From an online perspective, no surprises here. One that's missing here is Amazon. It's an obvious logo, but it's definitely one of the ones that, of course, from a convenience and free shipping perspective, has continued to win inside of that game. We talked to users a little bit more about what they thought about in-store personalization. And I really liked this one. So, 45% said that they could do more, whether you were online or offline shopping, that there were better ways to personalize. 38% of people in store didn't think that the retailer knew them at all. And 35% only of online suggested that they thought where they were shopping that there was a clear path to personalization. This leaves a ton of opportunity. We know that mobile phones are vessels for personalization, and there's an expectation from users and consumers now that there is going to be some sort of personalization message there. And the other one I want to kind of call out here is this thought about reciprocity. I give you my data or I give you information, show me that you heard it and that you know me, and I'll have a better experience on the other side of that. And so that's something that's happening here. So when I think about low-hanging fruit, there's a lot of really easy ways you could slice and dice this, but the basics are not being done in a lot of cases today. Have you ever shopped in a Home Depot or gone into the Eaton Center recently, or the Bay? Good luck trying to find something. And I think this is a really big opportunity to be able to direct users in store. There's a lot of beacon technology out there right now. There's a lot of really clear opportunity for that. SMS, we like to think that we reserve text messages for our friends and family, but really, if a brand wants to get personal with you and you're comfortable with that information being passed to you through SMS, it is a really solid channel for it. And the last one here is like phone reminders about things you shopped online. So I've got a cart full of stuff and I walk into a retail store and you're gonna tell me where it is. I love sneakers. When I walk into a Nike, I want a Nike store that has a new release. I want them to tell me and talk to me about that. And so this is real easy opportunity for retailers. The last thing I'm going to discuss really quickly is Ulta. I'm not sure how many folks here know about Ulta. This is a US brand. They haven't really made their way into Canada yet. They were going to try pre-COVID and it didn't work out for them. This is the trend of transaction level data we pulled. And you'll see that we've got, our top line is female or those who identify as female, and our bottom line is those who identify as male. They're both on a very similar trajectory. And I think that that's really fascinating. One of the things that Ulta did back in 2018 is they invested in some AI and machine learning companies, and they used that data to start to be predictive by using skin tones to be able to suggest products to their customers. So that skin tones evolved into makeup, and literally you're able to try on makeup virtually. And when you go into a store, there's someone there, an associate, to greet you, and they're able to talk to you a bit about your profile. So that profile follows you in store. And so they've got both AI and AR taking part of the experience at home and in the store. They've also got their own loyalty program, and that loyalty program's about 40 million plus members. 95% of their sales come from that loyalty program. And so they're really keeping those people involved in those cycles and really making sure that they give them that constant path to purchase that is similar online to offline. And so from a sales perspective, from a revenue perspective, I think they're doing a lot of things well. I also think that we're about to see a shift in that shopper, and that more men are going to be thinking about your skincare routines and perhaps maybe a makeup that enhances something that you want. That is a shift that's happening right now for them, and they're there to capitalize it for maybe a man who has never had to shop for foundation before. So I love this idea of a constantly expanding demographic and the capability to reach them in multiple locations. And c'est la vie, that's it. Thank you.
Any questions for Amber?
Yes. Yeah, so for those that couldn't hear it, she was asking about consumer trust. So if consumers share their data, how comfortable are they with that for the retailers? So we did a story with the CBC about 6 weeks ago on this, on data sharing. And of course, I did a survey with my users at that point in time. And we actually found that 76% of our users were indifferent. If they shared their data, and this is going back to that idea of reciprocity, and we gave them points back for that data, and we told them it was anonymized, and we gave them security capabilities that helped them feel like it was going to be anonymized, we had no problems getting that data from them. And I think that's going to be a big trend that continues through as AI makes more mainstream in terms of retail. That the more conscious the users of giving the data and they're going to receive something for it, the better off the retailer is. But if you're just asking for it with nothing in return, it's not a fair trade, I don't think. Yeah. Yeah.
Here, I can bring this. There you go.
Hi, I'm Nazia. I'm just curious to know your perspective from an omni-channel, like merging those experiences. I work at the bank, and I know we talk a lot about sort of having that experience. If a customer, for example, starts an application online, they can continue it at the branch or contact center. So sort of one customer, one brand. So do you see that level of opportunity in your world?
Oh, so I've had the pleasure of working with a lot of our Canadian banks and open banking, and they're going to err on the side of security and regulation for sure. So from a bank perspective, I think we're probably in Canada, we're probably a while away from that. From a retail perspective, I don't see any reason why that couldn't be it. If I've got a basket loaded of things that I want to try on somewhere, Nordstrom has tried that. They couldn't get it at scale, but there is ways to solve for that. I just don't think we've seen enough input in terms of what that retail shop experience could be right now.
I have two questions. What do you think really defines the most exceptional customer experience? Is it one thing? And where have you seen that play out?
So I believe that it's personalization. And I think that the less I have to do and the more frictionless my experience is, the better it is. And so that's my belief, and maybe there's other people that want to put more effort into some of their shopping experiences, but it also depends on what journey you're on. If I'm buying a car, I may want to be more involved in that journey. If I'm buying a new sweater, maybe that's a little bit less. I think there's probably not a lot of exceptional experiences that I can say that are like mainstream. I think if you've had to purchase insurance lately, home insurance, car insurance, there's some really interesting changes being built into those experiences where they're automating a lot of that from an AI machine learning perspective, documenting things for you, helping make your life easier. Those are things that I think all add to the experience. When it comes to retail or CPG, you know, I'm going to give a shout out to probably the PC Optimum and their advancements in what they've been able to do in terms of making it easy to collect and easy to redeem and incentivizing the shop experience alongside the PC Points program. I think it's brilliantly done. Yeah.
Sorry, I have one more question.
Yeah.
Are there ever scenarios where the data you collect is really not painting the full picture? And in situations where you can't fully rely on the data, how do you capture the right information you need from the consumer's perspective?
So we sell two products to our data partners. One is the PM for them is sitting right over here. So longitudinal surveys. So it's surveys. So it's qualitative data combined with quantitative data. And notice that that was a real basis for my presentation today because sometimes the user says they're going to do something and then they don't actually do it. And so that's why the combination of the two is actually pretty powerful for us. And so my recommendation is always to use both when you can for drawing any types of conclusions. Some data sets aren't strong enough because we don't have the volume. And that's really just going to be an issue around particular retailers or niche retailers or mom and pop shops. We won't necessarily see enough information there to draw conclusions one way or another off the data.
I think that's about all we have time for,
Great.
but thank you so much.
Thank
Big round
you.
of applause for Amber.
Yeah.